Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. What I'd love to do today is to reflect on Anzac Day 2025 and the eternal brotherhood that exists between the second Anzacs and the Greeks. The annual Anzac Day commemoration on the 25th of April and the Ohi Day commemoration that is celebrated on the 28th of October every year is one of the most relevant remembrance days for both Greeks and Australians, and indeed all people of the world who believe in and support democracy and freedom. To help put things into perspective, Greece, yes, Greece, gave the Axis powers their first defeat with the loss that Italy suffered in both Epirus and Albania back in a time when the Axis forces were sweeping through Europe and bringing great armies and governments to their knees. The Greeks were the ones who, beyond all odds, threw a massive spanner in the works and delayed Hitler's plans for long enough to change the course and outcome of World War II. The war, known as the Albanian Front, began on the 28th of October 1940, when the Greeks shouted an emphatic Ohi, a loud no to the Italian ultimatum for passage through Greece. The Greeks, of course, could have buckled at the knees and said yes, and offered free and unfettered passage to the Italians, and the outcome of World War II would most certainly have been different. During 1940, Greece and Great Britain, which included the Anzacs, were by far the most tenacious countries that continuously defended themselves for many months against incursions from the Axis powers. Great Britain and the rest of the free world were inspired by the Ohi victory by the Greeks initially in the early time of 1940, and sent their own Commonwealth forces, including the 2nd Anzac Corps, to defend Greece before the looming Nazi invasion, which occurred in April 1941. The 2nd Anzac Corps consisted with approximately equal proportions between the New Zealanders and the Australians. In total, there were 34,000 or thereabouts of soldiers, of which 1,044 Anzacs fell and lie in the Greek sacred soil, which holds the ancient and modern Greek heroes. After defeating Italy, Greece felt the combined onslaught of Germany, Bulgaria, Albania, and once again Italy. The Greek military succumbed to these overwhelming odds, but so brave were its soldiers that Hitler, in his admiration for their tremendous courage and bravery, ordered that Greek prisoner of wars be released and allowed to go back home to their families. Throughout the 4 years of Axis occupation, the mighty Greeks never gave up, culminating with the abduction of the German commander on Crete in 1943, and despite the ferocious Nazi reprisals, such as mass executions and burning of whole villages. After World War II, sadly, a civil war broke out in Greece as a result of the political vacuum that was left, giving rise to a Cold War. Many of our parents were children who grew up during World War II and the Civil War in Greece. This period of loss of life, destruction and immense poverty had a big and lasting effect on them and on their children. Some of them, including fathers and uncles, fought in Epirus and Albania, including my maternal grandfather, Petros Kalpaxis, who left his village just 2 days after the birth of my Auntie Frida, not knowing if he was ever going to return. He sustained an injury during battle and surprisingly never wanted to talk about his time on the battlefield and would be reduced to tears and sobbing if ever questioned. So dramatic was the impact on him. Some of our parents and grandparents were orphaned, and more harshly, some of them were stolen as the very ugly Greek civil war unfolded after World War II. Greek against Greek, family member against family member. During World War II, Greece sadly lost approximately 10% of its population, about 800,000 people, from the ravages of war and starvation. And during the Civil War, some 158,000 people were killed and 1 million or so were temporarily relocated. Earlier Greek immigrants to Australia left as a result of the Balkan Wars, Greco-Turkish Wars, World War I and World War II, which destroyed their communities and left their social fabric in absolute tatters. So after almost a decade of war, with some 950,000 people killed, destruction to towns, villages and cities, dislocation of families and the economy in tatters, hundreds of thousands of Greeks decided to migrate to many countries, including Australia. Greek Australians are encouraged to look deep enough into their family and community heritage, which could contain many of the heroes of the Orchidae and the battles with, or side by side with, the Anzacs. We also encourage them to engage with other Australians who maybe are descendants or are connected to the descendants of the 34,000 Anzacs, of which 17,000 were Australians and the other 17,000 New Zealanders, that help defend Greece. Orchidae is a very relevant day, and many of us, the children and grandchildren of Greek immigrants to Australia, are enjoying a fortunate, great life but also making a significant contribution with responsibility to this wonderful country. Our beneficial reality is built upon the sacrifice and the emotional cost paid by our parents who left behind their families and communities in search of a better life. This emotional cost was ongoing for decades as our parents tried to integrate into a new country, and is part of the human cost paid by the Greek people for the courage and bravery defending the most ancient land and the Greek way of life with liberty and freedom. It is important to understand that wherever Greeks go, they are happy to integrate, but they will never ever assimilate. The cost to our parents and the benefit for us started from Ohi Day on the 28th of October 1940 and is crystallised in Anzac Day, lest we forget. And thank you to Nick Andriatakis for his beautiful words. Nick is a proud Greek Australian, a philanthropist, an entrepreneur, and a good-hearted person.